I matched with her like it was nothing, just another face in the dark. But the moment the screen flashed, the room felt colder, like something had noticed me, and decided I'd finally answered. She replied so fast it felt like she was already holding the phone, already waiting. Every joke landed, every interest matched, and the more perfect it got, the more it felt like someone was studying me.
I joked about Valentine's, just teasing, nothing serious. But the typing bubble appeared the second I sent it. Like she'd been waiting with her answer loaded. Like the question wasn't new to her at all.
To Texas to Canada next weekend. My stomach flipped. Excitement first, then a colder thought underneath. Who commits that fast to a stranger they've never touched?
She didn't flirt around it, she pushed. It's time we meet. Next level. I felt chosen, like I'd finally been seen. But reading it back, it didn't sound romantic. It sounded planned.
The next day I tried to make it special. I told her about a secluded cabin in Alberta. Big, private, perfect. My thumb hovered before I sent it. Because once you invite someone into isolation, you can't pretend you didn't choose it.
She said yes instantly. No questions, no caution. Just yes. I told myself she was spontaneous, but the speed of it felt wrong. Like she wasn't agreeing to an idea, like she was confirming a plan she'd already made.
Friday came fast. I stood at arrivals rehearsing my hello like it mattered. Then I saw her walking toward me, smiling like she already knew me. And I felt relief, because my brain loves believing what it wants. She hugged me like we'd done it before, like she already knew where to place her hands. It was warm, familiar, just a little too sure. I told myself it was chemistry, but my body didn't believe me. She kissed me like she was confirming something, fast and certain. I felt lucky, chosen. But when she pulled away, my skin stayed cold, because it didn't feel like a first kiss. It felt like someone checking a box.
We drove north through snow and empty forest, the road narrowing into darkness. She barely moved, just watched the trees. And every time the headlights swept the trunks, I felt like something out there was watching us back.
The cabin wasn't some postcard A-frame. It was a real mountain lodge. Glass, timber, stone, buried under snow like it had been waiting all winter. The lights inside looked warm, but out here, warmth doesn't mean safe, it means occupied.
I stepped out and my boots sank deep, and the cabin lights watched us like eyes that never blink.
The steps were iced over, the railings buried in snow like the house was trying to disappear. I fumbled the key once, hands numb, and she stood right behind me, so close I could feel it. When the lock clicked, I swear the cold didn't want to let us in.
Inside, the warmth hit my face like a promise. Timber beams, stone fireplace, the whole place glowing like a retreat. I started to relax, until I realized she wasn't looking at the view, she was looking around like she was memorizing exits.
I tried to keep it normal. Bags, coats, the usual awkward first night stuff. But she unpacked like she wasn't visiting. Like she'd moved in. Neat, fast, sure. And the more comfortable she looked, the more I wondered what she'd already decided.
By the fire, it finally felt easy, like the app had been telling the truth. She laughed at my jokes, matched my taste, mirrored everything I liked. And then I noticed the timing, like she was a beat behind, like she was copying me.
She started asking little questions. Cell service, neighbors, the road. But it wasn't curiosity, it was mapping. Her fingers counted, her eyes measured locks, and I realized she wasn't talking about the weekend. She was talking about control.
The lock clicked, then the chain. Not loudly, just calmly, like muscle memory. In the firelight, it looked normal, almost polite. But my stomach dropped, because suddenly I couldn't tell if she'd locked the world out or locked me in.
After the lock, she went for the windows. Curtains closed, one by one, until the forest disappeared. The room felt warmer, but also tighter, like the house had exhaled and sealed itself shut. And I realized she liked it that way.
When
When she finally turned back toward me, I got my first full look. Same smile, same face from the screen. But something behind it felt switched off, like a light that didn't reach her eyes, and I understood. She wasn't here to visit, she was here to stay.
After the smile, she went quiet. Too quiet. She just stood there listening, like the cabin was speaking to her in little creaks and pops. And when her eyes flicked toward the hallway, it felt like she already knew what was waiting back there.
She went into the kitchen like she was at home. A drawer opened. Metal whispered against metal. And when she chose a knife, she did it calmly, like she wasn't grabbing a weapon, just picking the right tool for what came next.
Up close, it was worse. Her smile didn't change like a normal person's. It shut off. The warmth left her face and nothing replaced it. Just steady eyes. And that tiny smirk like she was thinking about something I wasn't allowed to know.
I tried to tell myself I was overthinking it, but the door was locked. The curtains were shut, and she looked comfortable. Like the cabin wasn't a getaway, it was a container, and I was the thing inside it.
In Texas, Kate opened her account to check a notification and found a month of messages she didn't send, plans she didn't make, a weekend she never agreed to. And in that moment, she didn't feel embarrassed. She felt hunted.
Kate called her sister and got silence. That's when she checked the one place Kim always went first, the place she hid things. It was empty, and the truth landed like a weight. Kim hadn't stolen a password, she'd stolen her.
Kate didn't waste time arguing with herself. She called the police and forced her voice steady. She gave them the cabin, the weekend, the man who didn't know. And when she said, "Please hurry," it sounded like she was trying to outrun something already moving.
Kate told them the truth she hated saying out loud. Her twin sister had always been unstable. Episodes, obsessions, long stretches where Kim didn't feel like a person, just a need wearing a face. And now that need had flown to a cabin with a man who didn't know.
Somewhere else, the warning landed in a room full of routine and turned into motion. A route, a call sign, a set of keys. And just like that, the clock started. Because out in the snow, time doesn't pass. It closes.
Back in the cabin, the silence got louder. The house creaked like it was settling, or breathing. The fire snapped once and Kim didn't flinch. She just stood there, calm, like the cabin knew her, like it had been waiting.
The lights died with a single click, too clean to be an accident. The cabin fell into firelit shadow and the silence got sharp. I hadn't touched a switch. And in the dark, Kim didn't move at all, like she'd wanted it this way.
I checked my phone. No signal. I moved, held it higher, tried again, nothing. Out here, the world just stopped reaching us. And across the fire, Kim watched me with that calm look, like being cut off wasn't a problem, like it was the point.
I reached for my keys and found nothing. The table was empty too. Then I heard the smallest sound, metal, gentle, deliberate. Kim held them in the firelight like it was a gift, like she wanted me to understand. I wasn't leaving when I decided to.
She didn't threaten me. She didn't rush. She just held the keys like proof, like a quiet leash. Up close, her face stayed calm, and that was the worst part. Because people who enjoy control don't need to raise their voice.
She didn't drag me. She didn't have to. She just turned toward the hallway and started walking like the next step was obvious. I followed because I didn't know what else to do. And when she paused to listen, it felt like the house was answering her.
Step back, slow, careful, trying not to set her off. She didn't follow. The keys tightened in her hand and the sound was quiet, but final. In the dark glass, I caught my own eyes and understood the truth. This wasn't a date anymore. It was a test.
She picked a key like she'd done it before. The metal scraped, the lock turned, and the click that followed felt permanent. Whatever was down there, whatever that thump was, she didn't want it coming up. And she didn't want me going down.
After she locked the basement, she turned back, and the smile returned, like nothing happened. Like we hadn't just heard something below the floor. Watching her switch back into sweet felt wrong, because it meant the fear wasn't a mistake. It was a choice.
She made a drink like it was a normal night, warm, sweet, comforting. But I saw her hand pause, saw something fall into the mug like a secret. The spoon tapped the ceramic, slow and patient, and suddenly the kindness felt prepared.
She held the mug out like a peace offering, steam rising between us. I reached for it and stopped. The warmth felt staged. Her hands were too steady, her patience too practiced. And in her eyes, I saw it. She wasn't offering comfort.
I didn't drink. I set it down and nudged it away like it was nothing, like I was just taking my time. But her smile tightened for a second, like a wire pulled too hard. She wasn't watching the mug anymore. She was watching me, to see what I'd figured out.
That's when she made her first clean move. My phone was on the table, right beside the drink I didn't touch, and she slid it toward herself like it was nothing. No permission, no hesitation, just control, taken quietly, like practice.
The fire jumped all at once, too sudden, and the smoke alarm started chirping like an accusation. I moved on instinct, stepping toward the fireplace, and behind me, Kim stayed calm, watching me get pulled away like the distraction was exactly where she wanted me.
While I dealt with the fire, she moved behind me, quiet as a thought. I heard the back door rattle, then the cold final click of a lock. Not one lock, more than one. And in that moment I understood. She wasn't keeping something out. She was keeping me in.
She tested the window latch like she was checking a cage door. Then there was a soft tap on the glass, so light I almost thought I imagined it. Kim didn't jump. She leaned closer, listening, like the sound wasn't a surprise, like it was a signal.
The locks, the curtains, the missing phone, none of it was random. She'd been hurting me with little choices, guiding me into the safest place for her and the worst place for me. And she did it without raising her voice once.
I didn't panic. Not yet. I let my hand drift toward my coat like it was casual, like I was just settling in. But her eyes caught the movement instantly, sharp and exact. So I started planning quietly.
She came closer, smiling, like she was being affectionate. But her eyes weren't on my face. They moved over my pockets, my hands, my coat. Her fingers hovered near my hoodie like a silent pat-down, and when she pulled back, she looked satisfied, like she'd just confirmed I was unarmed.
She turned toward the stairs like the night had a schedule. Up she went, slow, confident. And I followed because saying no felt dangerous. At the top, she looked back with a soft smile, then nothing. Just blank calm, like she was counting on me to comply.
She picked a room without asking, just opened the door like it was already decided. Then she stood in the doorway, not blocking me with force, just with certainty, and I realized she didn't need threats. She used pressure, quiet, constant pressure, until you moved where she wanted.
The bedroom was warm, neat, and suddenly it felt like a trap. She smoothed the bedspread with slow care, then patted the mattress once like a signal. I stayed in the doorway, because stepping fully inside felt like agreeing to something I didn't understand.
She didn't slam the door. She closed it slowly, almost gently, until there was only a thin gap of hallway left. Not locked, not yet, just smaller.
I heard a buzz, like a text coming in, and my hand went straight to my pocket, empty. Then it buzzed again, closer.
She opened the curtain by an inch. Outside, something moved through the snow, dark and silent between the trees. My skin went cold. Kim's didn't. She watched like she was checking if it arrived, then let the curtain fall, calm as ever.
Then we heard the roof. Snow sliding, a soft scrape like something moved up there. My stomach turned. Kim just listened, eyes lifted, calm and focused. Like the sound wasn't a warning. Like it was confirmation that the night was going her way.
I didn't use a torch. I used the lamp, small, warm, and ordinary. Like that could make the fear behave. The light spread across the room in a slow pool, and for a second I could breathe. Then I saw her in the doorway shadow, and the comfort vanished.
The light didn't help. The door looked calm, but the gap beneath it told the truth. A faint draft pushed dust outward like a slow exhale from below. I didn't touch the handle. I just stepped back, because whatever was down there didn't need the door open to reach me.
I reached for the handle and stopped myself at the last second. When my fingers finally touched it, the cold cut straight through me. Too sharp, too immediate. I pulled back, and the latch creaked anyway, like the door had felt me, like it was awake.
The door didn't open. It didn't need to. A single heavy thud came from below, slow and deliberate, like something had taken one step closer in the dark. Dust shook loose from the frame and drifted down in the warm light, and I knew it had heard me up here.
I didn't touch the handle again.
I just stood there, listening to the house settle. Then the hallway behind me changed, like someone stepped into the space without a sound. Kim was there, calm in the doorway, watching my back. And the worst part was her face, like this was exactly how she planned it.
I turned slowly, like sudden movement might set her off. But she was already close, closer than she should have been, standing in that warm light like she belonged there. Her expression didn't change. No anger, no fear, just patience, like she was waiting for me to make the wrong choice.
She didn't say a word. She just lifted her hand, palm up, like a polite request for an explanation. I kept my hands open where she could see them. Her fingers hovered near my wrist, checking for something I didn't have, and in her eyes I could see it. She already knew.
She didn't argue. She just stepped aside and pointed. 2 fingers, calm and certain, like the basement wasn't an option anymore. Her hand touched my sleeve, barely there, and I moved. Not because she forced me, but because she made it feel safer to obey.
She walked me back into the living room like she was resetting the scene. She smoothed a cushion, straightened a blanket, tiny domestic gestures that didn't fit the fear in my chest. Then the polite smile returned, and I realized she wasn't calming me down. She was putting me back where she wanted me.
She put a blanket over my shoulders like I was the one who needed comfort. The fabric was warm, but the gesture felt like a claim. She leaned close, no words, just presence, and my skin crawled. Because kindness shouldn't feel like handcuffs.
Even with the blanket on me, my eyes kept drifting to the front door. Deadbolt, chain, perfectly set, like a ritual. And when I looked back, Kim was already watching, her gaze flicking to the locks and back to me. Calm, certain, like the exit was hers, not mine.
She didn't have to say anything. She lifted the keys just enough for the firelight to catch them, and the soft jingle landed like a warning. My eyes went straight to them. Kim's smile flickered, tiny, satisfied, and then she tucked them away like she'd put a leash back in her pocket.
Her pocket buzzed again. Quiet, confident, like the outside world still remembered her. She didn't even glance down at first. She looked at me instead, checking what I'd do. And when I tightened my grip on the blanket, she finally moved, calm as ever, like the message belonged to her alone.
She read the message with the phone held low, like she didn't want me to see, only to know. The screen glow lit her fingers for a second, and a tiny smile tried to appear. Then it vanished. One tap, one decision, and whatever was happening outside that cabin, she was already shaping it.
Power died all at once, no flicker, no warning. The lamps went black and the cabin fell into firelight and shadow. In the glow, Kim turned into a silhouette, still, perfect, unreadable. And I realized darkness wasn't an accident here, it was something she could summon.
In the dark, she moved like she'd rehearsed it. A drawer opened, a matchbook appeared. The flare lit her fingers and she didn't even blink. When the candle caught, the room warmed, but not with comfort, with control, like she'd replaced the power with something older.
She set the candle down with care, then arranged things beside it like she was building a little altar. Keys, matches, perfectly placed. The flame trembled and the reflection in the glass looked wrong, too alive. And watching her face in that light, I knew she wasn't improvising. She was performing.
She lifted her phone just enough for the candlelight to catch the screen. A woman's face stared back at me, her face, the one I thought I'd been talking to. My stomach dropped, and Kim watched my reaction like she'd been waiting for that exact moment to land.
She turned toward the glass and fixed her hair like she was getting into character. For a second, her face softened, sweet, familiar, like the woman I'd been waiting for. Then it switched off. Same face, different person. And that's when the truth finally had teeth.
She held the phone up again, then tapped her chest like she wanted me to name her. Like she wanted to hear me say the wrong name out loud. I kept my mouth shut and looked away. And in the candlelight I saw it, one brief flash of irritation before her calm snapped back into place.
She didn't need blood to make her point. She took off a ring and placed it beside the candle like a signature, then set my phone next to it, screen down, hidden. In the firelight, it looked like evidence laid out on a table, and when she raised her eyes to me, I understood this was her proof, and her promise. She unlocked my phone like she'd owned it for years. The screen lit her fingers and she scrolled. Messages, threads, proof, kept just out of reach. She angled it toward me without letting me take it, and I felt my stomach drop because she wasn't hiding the lie anymore, she was displaying.
Her thumbs moved fast, too practiced, through menus I couldn't see clearly. A lock symbol flashed, a few taps, and then it was done. She placed my phone face down beside the candle and slid it away like it was nothing. And I knew I wasn't just trapped in the cabin. I was cut off from myself.
The candle flame jerked like the cabin had inhaled. Kim went still and listened toward the window, eyes sharpening in the dark. Then the curtain moved, just a little, like something passed outside close enough to feel. And I realized we weren't alone out there.
She carried the candle to the window like it was part of a routine. The curtain opened by an inch and she lifted the flame, steady, deliberate, holding it there just long enough to be seen. Then she closed the curtain again, and in my chest the fear changed shape because that wasn't curiosity, that was a signal.
She held the curtain open by a sliver and stared into the trees. At first there was nothing, just snow and black pines. Then a cold white light blinked once, far out, deliberate, and vanished. Kim didn't look shocked. She looked satisfied, like someone had just answered her.
When she turned back to the window, I felt a thin slice of time open up. I moved slow, so slow it barely counted, letting my hand drift toward the table. Keys, phone, anything. My heart hammered, but I kept my face still, because the first sign of panic would be the first mistake.
I was a breath away from the keys when I felt it, like the room itself stiffened. Kim didn't turn around. She didn't have to. Her hand tightened at her side, slow and certain, like she'd heard my thoughts instead of my movement. And I knew my chance was already shrinking.
She turned her head first, slow, like she was savoring it. A small smile appeared before she even faced me, and my hand froze above the keys. The candle flame jumped, throwing shadows across the room. Then she stepped toward me, calm and certain. She turned her head first, slow, like she was savoring it. A small smile appeared before she even faced me, and my hand froze above the keys. The candle flame jumped, throwing shadows across the room. Then she stepped toward me, calm and certain.
She didn't hit me. She didn't need to. Her hand closed on my collar and stopped me like I was a dog on a leash. The keys sat inches away, glowing in firelight, and I couldn't reach them. In her grip, I felt the truth. This wasn't rage, it was ownership.
The knock hit the door like a gunshot. The locks rattled and the candle flame jumped. For the first time, Kim's calm cracked, just for a second, before anger slid in behind it. And far off in the snow, I heard it, the thin wail of sirens getting closer.
They held her arm and spoke softly, like this was routine, like she could still be brought back. But Kim fought the steps, staring at the cabin like it was alive. Then she snapped, eyes burning, and she screamed, "I'm not going back to that place again."
From the front seat, the officer said, "I'm going to get you help." Kim's eyes snapped to the window like the words were a threat. The cabin lights shrank behind us, swallowed by snow. And she whispered, feral, certain, "I'm not going back."
Moose. If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and share for more horror every week.